two. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Extraordinary People. I am Patricia. And today we're going to welcome back Dr. Karam. As the cliche goes, my guest today does not need an introduction. I'm happy to have him back for a stimulating talk. To recap a little, Dr. Karam, as well as his parents, discovered at the tender age of 3 he has a gift for music, piano playing more specifically. It isn't simply a gift, he is a musical prodigy that would play Mozart concertos in front of an audience at the age of 7. With the full support and encouragement of his family, he has used this gift all his life to help to raise funds, play concerts, always for the benefit of others. As well as being a musical prodigy, Dr. Karam, of course, was a prodigy at school, where he graduated high school at 15, undergraduate degree from university at 17, and then headed to medical school, overcoming a few bumps before finally getting there. Today, our talk will go a little differently. We will go through some pivotal moments in his life and discuss his thoughts on these moments, his views on the human mindset, societal values, and of course, his dedication to the art world. Dr. Karam, welcome. It's so nice to have you here again.
Thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure.
It is a pleasure. So, like I mentioned before, I recapped our last episode over 1 hour in like 1 minute.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you would like to add to what I said, or?
No, I think you captured it all
Okay.
very, very well.
Okay. So in our last episode, we ended up where you started medical school, and you had kind of like a guardian angel who let you in, right?
Yeah.
So, but even then, it wasn't so easy for you to get in. You
Yes.
had to go through some stumbling blocks to get in. Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, sure. I got into medical school on a Lebanese passport in the USA, which is something that's basically unheard of.
Right.
And this is not, residency. This is medical school. So in medical school, you're supposed to be a citizen or or a green card holder.
Is
Because
it it's illegal to have a foreign student, or
no,
it's
no,
just
it's
like
not illegal. It's just that, even in private schools, there's a partial subsidy from the state or whatever.
Okay.
So they're not going to do that for like foreigners. This is what foreigners don't know. That's why people think that
Okay.
it's illegal, but it's not.
Right.
But the thing is, as you said, I had a guardian angel who actually forced my admission without me knowing.
Without you knowing,
Because
yeah.
I found out later after he passed away from his wife that he actually pushed my application.
Yeah, he never even told you.
He never told me, and
That's amazing.
he was on the faculty there because I was a graduate student. I was doing my research under him. Such a gentleman, beautiful person. So I'm eternally grateful for
Right.
that. But the idea is that he did push me, not because I knew someone or I knew him. I mean, we barely talked except for research stuff. But he thought that the medical school would benefit from me being there. At least that's what his wife said.
Okay.
And he knew that was what I was determined to do, even if it took me 50 years to get in.
So it's not just your high intelligence, you probably had a talent that they can benefit from, I would assume, right?
To them, I fit the profile of
Okay.
of the students that they would like to have.
Okay.
We were at the time #1 in clinical medicine at the George Washington University when I applied. So it was a highly, highly competitive place. And he just gave them my CV and said, if you don't accept him, I'll resign.
Yeah.
But I think that helped a lot, but it wasn't the only factor. I mean, he's not the only person who decides. So, but it was a big push.
Well, I'm sure they saw what you can give, so.
So just to answer your question briefly, so we don't, stay on that point. Yes, after medical school, okay, so I passed my, exams and everything, and I went, and graduated. But then I had to go through residency, and I'm
Yeah.
still on a Lebanese passport.
Right.
And here we had another set of problems, which is, people who come from overseas, they get a certain visa, they have certain requirements, certain exams they have to do. Well, I can't take those exams because I'm not coming from overseas. Yet I have a foreign passport. So for the residency program that accepts me, there was a dilemma, which kind of visa to give me. Then we went
Oh,
into
you
the
mean
legal.
overseas as an undergraduate student overseas?
If you graduate from medical school outside the United States, any country,
Oh,
to
I
get
see.
into the United States for residency, there are requirements. Tests you
Okay.
have to take, grades you have to have, and a certain visa that they give you that allows you to come and do your training, and then you have to leave the U.S.
And you couldn't do that?
I couldn't do that because I was a graduate of the U.S.,
Right.
but with a non-citizen passport.
Oh, that's kind of
So
bizarre.
it was kind of
right.
bizarre for
Yeah.
them to kind of have to deal with that, and I had to convince them of a certain. Basically, to make
Yeah.
a long story short, I had to study law.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I became an expert
glad
in
you-
immigration law of the
That's
United
funny.
States, and I found a loophole, and I discussed it with my lawyer at the time, which I couldn't pay him because I barely had any money. And I said, look, here's the loophole. This is how we have to do it. So I went into residency based on an F1 visa, which they usually give for students that do anything except medicine.
Okay.
And there's something called the practical training, which they give you temporarily for a year so that you can like train with
Right.
whatever degree that you have. By which time I had, my other ways of getting my green card, which is
Yeah.
through marriage, blah blah blah.
So
I
now
was
we
able
got
to get that.
we got a law lesson now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't wish that anybody goes through this
Yeah.
because while you're waiting, you still have to perform. Like meaning in
Mm-hmm.
residency, I worked 36 hours, and then got a rest of 4 hours, then do another 36.
That's amazing what they put
And
you
so
through.
I don't have time to deal with this, yet I had to deal with it.
Oh,
So
I see.
it's
Okay. So
that,
it's an
that
extra
kind of
burden.
scenario.
Right. But you did get your green card
I did.
because
Yes.
we're gonna go back a little
Sure.
bit. So you had a girlfriend.
Well, we were friends. It wasn't really
Friends,
a girlfriend. But we had a good friendship going, and eventually it became serious. And the definition of girlfriend doesn't fit for someone who's in medical school. Really, we don't
Okay.
have time to even go out for a
Okay.
date.
That's why they all get married later in life.
Well, yeah, but I was friends with her family, with I was one of the family, if you
Right.
wish.
Okay.
So this friendship developed, and it was time for us to move to the next step. But I refused to move to the next step until I get a job that pays me, because I don't want to get married and have my parents who
Right.
can't even afford to pay my tuition just get that burden on top of things. Had I done that, it would have made my getting into residency much easier because I would have had a green card. But I refused. It's because of the principle
Oh.
that I will not get married unless I have an income.
Okay.
So to get an income, you need to be in residency. So I had to convince them to take me before I got my green card. So I got married when I got into residency, and I got my
Oh.
green card.
3 months later.
No, a
Oh.
lot more later.
Oh, a lot more later.
Yeah, because you get a
Okay.
temporary thing, then you have to prove that it's valid after a year, that you haven't just gotten married for a green card.
Jeez. Okay.
So after 1 year, you get your permanent green card. That's when you become eligible to work.
So you had time to study law and study medicine at the same time, or you found
Yeah.
time to do it?
Yeah. So that's what I did.
Okay. How was it like? Everybody says as a medical resident, it's such a toil on your body. I
It
just
is.
find it fascinating how you're able to survive that period. It's like hell week for Navy
Look,
SEALs. For me.
I'll summarize it if you like.
Okay.
Going through school and high school and whatever, as we mentioned before, I used to come home, play piano 3 hours, by which time it's already evening time to go to bed, so I barely studied. But I had a good memory and I paid attention in class, so I was doing fine. So all throughout school, even undergraduate school, and even in my master's degree, I always got like 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. Now,
Right.
I was someone who didn't sleep well at night. I would stay up because I always worried about what's going to happen next. I have all these aspirations and goals and I got to get them.
And you have to struggle for
Exactly.
that, right?
But the idea was I had the night to think. Well, when you get into residency, now it's sleepless nights. So that first week was horrible. You become a zombie basically, because it takes a toll on your body. You can't think straight. Well, but then after that, it goes away.
Oh.
But why? It's because I love what I do. Like in the middle of
Okay.
the night at 3 a.m., if I'm in the middle of surgery, doing something either to relieve a torsion of ovary or to get a baby out or something like that,
Right.
to me, the adrenaline rush that you get out of that you're actually saving a life or helping somebody deliver a baby or whatever,
Yeah.
that superseded my being tired. So when you do something that you love, no matter what it is, you will be fine. There
So
are
it's the
people who
drive.
like, stay up in the pub like for till 5 a.m.
Yeah,
They're
they're
happy,
happy.
right?
Yeah.
So how is that any different than me doing surgery?
So which hormone is it that keeps you?
Well,
Is it the dopamine?
there's plenty. There's
Oh,
plenty.
there's plenty that work at
They
the
all
same
work
time?
together
Okay.
to boost your energy.
Okay.
But then there are times when you do crash, and when you do crash, you crash. But
You're
your
human
crash,
after all,
of
right?
course. But you crash for like what, half an hour, 2 hours, and then you're
Okay.
back up on your feet and doing it again. So it becomes like a boot camp. It's sort of what the army does. It's sort of what the Marines do in the
Yeah.
States. They push you to your extremes so that if you're ever in a war zone, you're fine.
Yeah.
But it's
You've
sort of
already
the same.
been through the
Yeah.
worst sort of thing. One thing we didn't talk about, when you started medical school, it was a little bit different for me because you mentioned that studying was easy for you.
Yeah.
It took a time for you to adapt to that.
Yes, because that first lectures, like first day,
Yeah.
I was like happy, I'm paying attention in class. They gave you the notes, they're all typed up. I came home, I put them on the table, I watched TV.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Seinfeld.
second day, third
Yeah.
day, fourth. It was time where Cheers was on. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
last season.
Yeah.
Then it came Seinfeld. Then came Friends. Then
Yeah.
came Frasier, and all
Yeah.
that. So I loved those.
Yeah.
So by the end of the week, I was looking at my table. There's like a stack of papers, and I in my mind this was like for the whole semester. It turns out that no, this is like on a daily basis.
You didn't even think about flipping through them?
No.
Oh, okay.
So by the second week, third week, now I'm reading every day, but I can't go back to those. So my first set of exams I took without reviewing the notes of the first week because I didn't have time. So then you have to adapt and adjust. Like, no, you got to read these because some of these are not in the lectures. And the professor will say, this is the basic concept, now go read about it. So we had to do that. So I adapted. I
Yeah.
kept watching TV, but like
Oh, you did?
with the notes with me.
Oh, and you were able to do double concentration?
Yeah, you know what? Because I don't know if we talked about this. I think we
on
didn't.
sitcoms and medical school at
There
the
were
same time.
rare times back in school when I had to read something like, things that you have to actually memorize, like geography or
Oh,
history
okay.
or whatever.
Capitals and whatever.
Yeah, I'd be playing Chopin on the piano. I'd be reading geography
Really?
just so that I can assimilate.
No, we
or,
didn't mention that.
Yeah,
at
well,
the
I'm
last-
mentioning it now. So that helped me train my brain that you could actually do two things at the same time, which was actually fascinating because
It is
now
fascinating.
I could watch Seinfeld, go tell my friends what happened because they're at the library studying, but then I read in parallel, so
Okay.
it was fine.
Is it true, like they say, if you play Mozart in the background, that your brain works better?
Not for me. If I play Mozart in the background, I can't memorize anything because if I play Rachmaninoff, maybe.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask. It depends on the
It
composer.
depends.
Okay.
It depends on the type of music. I mean, if it relaxes your brain, you might assimilate more. But I don't think that applies for everybody.
No.
I think it applies for certain people who have an affinity to certain music.
Yeah, everybody's character is different and
Yeah.
works differently. Okay, so you're in residency school. You got married,
Yeah.
and after you graduated, everything was fine. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
But then somebody became unhappy,
Yeah.
and you had to go through another little challenge in your life.
You want
Do
to
you
talk
wanna-
about
Yeah, if
Sure.
you want to talk about it.
that? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were married for about like a year and a half, 2 years, and then one day I'm in the operating room. I get this phone call into the operating
Oh.
room. With my wife at the time, she was crying because her mom was just diagnosed with leukemia. All right, it was me who actually diagnosed her with leukemia
Oh.
because I was visiting, because she was in Washington, I was in Pittsburgh, the mom.
Right.
So, a few weeks before I had visited, she had showed me some stuff, like on her
Some
body.
tests?
Some,
Oh,
some.
okay.
So I said, go do these tests, and her doctor refused, and then I told her, change doctors, but do these
Oh,
tests.
no kidding.
So they changed doctors, she does the test, it turns out it's leukemia, was confirmed. So
Oh.
at that time, I told my wife, was working at the World Bank, but remotely from Pittsburgh. I said, look, you go back to Washington, and then we'll deal with things on a daily basis. I'll go back and forth. Again, to make a long story short, a few months later, about 6 months, she passed away. It was really aggressive. And it was from that point, at that point in time, that I saw a major change in my wife's attitude towards everything in life. I can't blame her too much, but there is a part that I do blame her for. So, there were no kids at the time. So, we talked about, look, if things are going to continue this way, it's not going to work out. So, something has to give. And so ultimatums were done, and I was finishing up with residency by then, a
Oh,
year
you
or
hadn't
2
finished
years.
residency.
No, I was in the middle
Okay.
of residency, but like the turmoil lasted for about a year to kind of adjust. And then we said, look, I'm finishing residency. I got to go back to Lebanon. This is where I want to be. It was your own dream to go back. You can, and let's start our life there, but you have to forget about everything that happened.
We didn't mention your wife is originally Lebanese.
She is Lebanese.
Yeah.
She is Lebanese.
Just to make the transfer a little bit easier, the transition.
Yeah, she is Lebanese. I mean, there's no issues with her being here. Blah,
Right.
blah, blah. So, and actually, just on a side note, she applied for her passport like a year before I did, just so that she can help me get a green card, and I'm grateful for that. And she had been living there for 10 years, but she never applied.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we came back to Lebanon, and we went over all the problems that we had, and she agreed that we should turn a page, start fresh, and that's what happened. She moved back here. Everything was great for a year. And that's when we decided to expand our family. And so my daughter was born, life was great, and then, a couple of years later, things started sliding downhill a little bit, but you don't really see it coming. So
you're busy, obviously, also.
not just because you're busy. I mean, I'm never busy in, as much as ignoring what I have at home.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
But, there are issues sometimes with some people that they can't overcome, and there were issues that were out of her control, but there were issues that are, within her control.
The
She
kids
chose
were
not to.
young?
I mean, my daughter was born she was 3, my son was born, and then things really started going downhill because everything that she had promised to do was not done, and so we decided, look, this is not going to work out.
I was just thinking, sorry, of postpartum depression.
No.
That's why.
Has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So we decided to part ways, and given her job is in the World Bank, she has to go back to Washington. She can't continue to renew her contract outside of Washington. And then we came into this dilemma: what do we do with the kids? I mean, by law, by everything, the kids are with me. And I'm not just saying this because of Lebanese law or anything like that, so people don't misunderstand. It's because of what happened. The kids were supposed to be with me. And so we decided that no, I will not accept that my kids pay the price for the mistakes of, instead of me saying their mom, let's say their parents, okay?
Okay.
So I said I will have the kids grow with their mom, and I'll do the sacrifice of going back and forth to see them, but that's a major decision because I wanted to be the perfect dad, and I wanted to do that even remotely. So we designed the breakup so that I see or talk to the kids on a daily, or if not daily, but by daily basis. Cameras everywhere so I can see them, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I took the decision that they're not in this, they are in the States, but in my mind, it's like they're in Lebanon. And I took a job, like let's say I'm a banker, okay, and my bank transfers me to Egypt.
Right.
So I'll go to Egypt, work, and I'll come on weekends, right? Or like
so you
twice
put that
a month.
in your mindset, right?
So that first year, I went like 22 times to the States.
Wow.
And they came here 4 times. So it was like there is no discontinuation between my life and theirs. And now, I mean, this was back in 2009. We're now in 2022. My daughter is 18, my son is 16. I was having this talk with them, 2 weeks ago as I was in the States.
Oh, okay.
And they say that, among all their friends, because most of their friends come from divorced parents, they say that they have like the perfect life, and they
that's
never
great.
really felt big issues. I mean, of course, there's little things here and there.
Yeah, nothing's
but-
perfect.
but-
Even if your parents are home, nothing is perfect.
Look, I think I was able to be the dad, and they actually told me that they see me more than some of their friends see their dads who are living with their dads. So in that respect, I'm grateful. And then, we never made them feel that there was an issue, especially when it comes to anything related to them. For fast forwarding to now, we're friends, sort of friends. I mean, we don't talk
civil.
every day,
Yeah.
civil, but we go to her place, she comes and visits us whenever we're there, we go have dinners together. I mean, we're at all the major things for the kids
Okay.
together.
Couple of things I want to ask you. Do you think that that was the most difficult decision you ever had to make?
The most difficult decision that I had to make is me agreeing that my kids grow away from me.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I meant, yeah.
Yes, that
Okay.
is the most difficult decision.
But you did it for their own best interest.
Correct.
And you believe that kids should stay with their moms.
Yes and no, but mainly yes, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah, this is what I'm interested in.
If a child is growing up with one parent, let's say the dad,
Mm-hmm.
they will always think that their dad prevented them from seeing their mom on a daily basis, even if it's not.
Even subconsciously, you mean?
Yes, because the child needs this caring, emotional part that nobody can replace a mom.
Mhm.
Nobody. Not even a dad.
Right.
Okay. Now, turn it the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Mothers are supposed to give a lot of passion and emotion and whatever to their child. The dad does, but to a certain degree. I mean, we're not built that way. I'm built
Okay.
that way because I was mom and dad at one point in time, but
Okay.
but I'm very prone to kids. I love kids. I used to take my kids to birthdays, even when my wife was here,
Oh, okay.
because I love it.
You just like
you
to
see-
spend time with them.
I love.
Yeah.
When I was 4 or 5, one of my dreams was to have 4 kids and like play with them. Like kids my
When you were
age would
4
dream
or
about
5?
buying a Ferrari. But yes,
When you were 4
I
or
would
5?
sleep, I would remember sleeping and thinking about how my house is gonna be, where my wife is gonna be, and how I'm gonna have 4 kids playing around. I mean that was my idea of a family. Well,
Okay,
it turns
that's
out I
very
have 2,
young.
not 4,
Yeah.
but still, I love family life. For me,
Mhm.
telling me go to, I don't know, to the Maldives and play for a week in the ocean,
Yeah.
or stay with your kids for 2 nights. I'd stay with my kids for 2 nights. I mean, that's for me is ideal.
That's very interesting that you say that. I mean, you're picturing like the nuclear family and everything.
Mhm.
And that when you explained relationships to me when we were talking
Mhm.
before, you have a very, I don't want to call it open concept, but very modern concept of
Oh.
relationships.
Mhm.
Like you're for friendships between sexes, you don't have a problem with it,
Not
either
at
with
all.
you or for your wife,
Yes.
which is not easy, especially in this conservative country. I mean, not everybody can live with something like that.
I'll tell you my take on this. Let's talk friendship. Yes.
Yeah.
Friendships are irrelevant. I mean, sex meaning gender
Yeah.
is irrelevant when it comes to friendships. I can connect with you. I may not connect with your brother. I
Right.
connect with you because you have a certain way of thinking that clicks with my way of thinking.
Right.
Does that mean just because you're a woman and I'm a man that we cannot be friends? Of course not.
No.
Now, you tell me friends with limits. Of course. But there are, what limits? Not, let's say I want to have a cup of coffee with you. That's
Mhm.
kind of okay. But if I want to have dinner with you, why is that not okay? What is wrong with me eating a meal while you're eating a meal? If your significant other, being a boyfriend or a wife or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
if
they
they
know.
have something else to do,
Right.
or if they don't care about being with us in this situation, then why not? Now, if it makes them upset, that becomes wrong
Right.
for any reason.
Right.
But if you're okay with, I mean, I don't mind if my wife now, because I'm remarried, I don't
Mhm.
mind if my wife now tells me I'm having dinner with this, guy who is a friend of hers for like 20 years.
And
What
she
sh-
leaves you at home?
I choose not to go.
Okay.
It doesn't she leave?
So that's different.
But I choose not to go because I want to give them their privacy. What is
Okay.
wrong with, respecting privacy?
No,
I
I'm just
don't
playing
understand.
devil's
No,
advocate.
no,
but
I
mean,
understand.
yeah, but I mean, would she invite you or not necessarily?
She might, yeah.
Okay.
She would say, look, we're going out, and I would say,
Well, I don't
we
think-
have an open,
Right.
we have an open way of thinking, a respectful way
Yeah.
of thinking about these things.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to have dinner with you.
Mhm.
Of course, if I'm going to this fancy restaurant and with all the fancy
Candlelights
stuff
and flowers.
candlelights and we end up no.
Yeah.
I mean that's what I mean by limits.
You have to be reasonable
I
about it.
have a friend. We've
Yeah.
been friends for more than 30 years. I'm not going to say the exact number because she's big best, but more than 30 years.
Good.
I don't mind going to her place, which is by the sea, spending the time there, and talking all night.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't think everybody can handle it. I'm not.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they
There's
can't, they
nothing
can't.
wrong
What
with
can
it,
I
but
say?
not everybody can handle something
I
like
can
that.
handle it.
Yeah.
If the person I love has this kind of a relationship with someone of the opposite sex,
Mm-hmm.
I can handle it. Now, if I'm observant enough to know if there's intentions.
Yeah.
And believe me, after what I went through with my divorce, I not only have observation skills, I have investigative skills. So at that point in time, I would know.
It's
And
funny.
so I mean, at the end of the day, you have to have trust somewhere.
Yeah.
And if there's no trust, there's no point in being. So.
When you talk like this,
Mhm.
I feel like you're just so solid
I am.
and you're so reasonable, and I wonder, and if you don't mind me asking,
Ask anything that you want.
do you ever get angry?
Of course I do.
I don't see you because I see you always so logical in your reasoning and able to communicate with others. Like I don't see you like
I'll tell you
really
when.
angry
I'll
or
tell
even
you when.
crying. You know?
No, I cry very easily, and I'll tell you. I do get angry, and I've realized that with time, sometimes I get angry very quickly, and I do realize, which is something that the other person doesn't, that I get angry a lot with the people I care about the most.
Well, yeah. I'll just
Because
say something about that
I
later,
would
yeah.
expect that other person to do certain things, and if they don't, it angers me because it's sort of like an expectation. I always have to, kind of try to put a cap on what I expect from people, and that's the problem.
That's something that we learn.
Yeah,
Don't expect things from everybody.
But it's very difficult not to expect things from the closest people to you.
Yeah.
So I don't get angry from a stranger. I get angry from the people closest to
Because
me.
it's you care about them. I think the
Yeah.
greatest insult is when you don't care about somebody anymore.
Exactly.
Whatever they do,
Exactly.
it won't bother
Now, I do try to not get angry a lot, and I'm very good at that. But when I do get angry, it's not like from the first time something happens. It's like an accumulation of things. Gets me angry. But the other thing I noticed about myself, because when you grow older, you kind of start analyzing your own
you.
behavior.
Yes.
And so I can get angry, but then I can, like, within a few minutes, forget that this thing happened. Not forget meaning forget. You don't forget the facts, but I can talk to you normally after that and kind of either apologize if I made the mistake or talk about it if the mistake's coming from me.
Because you let it out.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, we're human after all.
Yeah,
I wish we could not get angry, but in life in general, I don't get angry a lot.
Yeah, ideally we wish a lot of things in life.
A lot of people have told me that you're very, very calm in very bad situations, and most of the time that is true. Another thing I told you, and I don't want to pass without explaining it, I cry very easily. I have no problem admitting that I'm emotional. I have no problem admitting to people that if there is a situation that is delicate or emotional, a tear would come. I mean, that's a sign of power. It's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And so I'm in touch with my inner feelings, and I have no problem seeing that. Actually, when I see a man crying in front of me, I respect him more. And there is nothing wrong with showing emotion.
Yeah, well, he's not going to bawl any sort of thing.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it has to be something worthy, not
Yeah.
a cry. So
What makes you sad?
music sometimes. There's
Music?
certain music that makes me sad.
The message in the music, or is it like the tone or the flow? Or
I can't explain it other than telling you that this was something that I was born with. I was crying to music when I was 2. I didn't understand anything.
oh, so if your mom would sing
If
a
it's
lullaby,
sad
you'd
music,
cry.
if it's sad music, it makes me cry. And sad music is not just sad music. It's not some. I even analyzed it at one point. Meaning, once you start understanding music and you know the keys and the minor and the major and all. Sometimes it's a major key, meaning a happy key, and it makes you cry because emotionally it drives you to a place which reminds you of something or someone or whatever,
Right.
and it does trigger those intense emotions. And when you have intense emotions, they could be good or bad. You cry. And people sometimes cry from laughing, right?
Right.
I mean, it's intense emotions.
That's like the best kind of crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what it is. So music. Other than music, what can make me cry? If a story where someone lost something, or something that happened to a child, that always gets me.
That
Like, I
touches
can't
us,
watch
yeah.
a movie, especially if the acting's good. I can't watch a movie where something bad happens to the child.
You know which movie really touched me? I can't remember the name. The one that was set in India, the one where they would poke the eyes of the children who would sing well.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you remember
know.
that one?
I don't remember.
I'll try
the
to
name,
remember,
but yeah, I mean,
mm,
pe- you know, things that affect the kids that it makes me cry. I can
yeah.
handle it, but it just makes me too emotional.
Do you ever get emotional regarding your patients?
No.
You learn to disconnect in that sense? Or you
No.
have a different kind of philosophy? Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense having
Yeah.
two no's to these questions. Um, I'm never emotional with my patients because I don't think that a doctor should be emotional to a patient. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I delivered my own sister. I delivered my own ex-wife.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you delivered your own
Yes,
child?
I delivered my 2 kids.
Okay, please, I wanted to ask you this before we didn't get a chance. How did you feel when your child was born?
Best feeling in the world.
Okay.
Because I was exactly as happy as I am delivering somebody else's child. But those 2 minutes later, when I'm supposed to leave the room and tell them everything's fine, and I leave, I didn't leave.
You wanted to stay.
I stayed with my son. Now I'm like the dad. So, best feeling in the world. Best feeling when my daughter looked up at me, she was halfway through the belly because she wasn't,
Wow.
fully
I'm
out.
getting tears in
She
my
was
eyes.
looking at me.
Wow.
And so, who can say that they delivered their own child? Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people ask me, whatever what if something happens to your wife or to your, mom? I operated on my sister. Do you think that I
Oh,
don't
you
have?
operated on your
course.
sister? I thought they
The-
didn't allow that.
They allow it.
Oh.
Another doctor was standing outside the room, but they never went in because I
Okay.
refused to have them in. But they were like, what if, what if? There's no what if. And the reasoning behind that is that if you are my patient and I have to operate on you, I'm supposed to treat you like you are my wife or my sister or my daughter, depending on your
There's
age.
no bias for any
If I
patient.
treat you any less than that, you should change doctors. This is my
Okay.
philosophy. Because who is best at doing the best for you other than the closest person to you? This is
Okay.
my philosophy. So
Okay.
every single patient of mine that I have operated on, whether I knew them for years or for 2 minutes or what have you, I've dealt with them in that situation as if they are my own sister, my own wife, or my own daughter. So in that respect, I don't understand how come some people don't operate on their relatives. That is
I
ridiculously
just thought
wrong.
it was illegal because there's that emotional connection.
That is bureaucratic, liberal thinking, whatever. I think it's wrong.
Is it illegal in the States or no?
It's not illegal.
Oh,
They
it
just
isn't.
give you
So
an
I'm just
option of
misinformed.
I don't know if some states have it as illegal, but I doubt it.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay.
It's not, and it shouldn't be. Now, do we get trained to handle a tough situation irrespective of emotions? Yes, that's what boot camps are for, right? I mean, we've been doing boot camps for what? For that reason. Don't tell me now if your, let's say, husband is in the Marines and your city is being attacked, he's supposed to sit at home because his family's at home.
Yeah.
He's going to be the first one defending you.
Right, and he doesn't stay to stop
Unlike
to
some
take
of
a
our
coffee break.
politicians who run away when something happens, leave their families behind, but that's a totally different story.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah,
So-
I understand.
So the idea is that you're supposed to be the first on the front line.
Right.
So something bad is happening to a member of my family and I can help, I'm the first there. Irrespective of emotion.
Something that touches you a lot. So we're just gonna
Yeah.
change the subject a little bit because we were talking about tears and everything. Other things that brings tears to you is a nice piece of art
Yes.
that touches you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that touches you so much, you've become a philanthropist and an expert in the art world.
I wouldn't call myself an expert because you're always learning. But the
Okay.
idea is that yes, art does touch me. Look, I think that there's a lot of power to anything that conveys emotion to you without words. Be it music, be it colors and art, and be it the picture.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a fictional novel, which is words, but they're not spoken, but it's fictional. So it's,
Imagination.
imagination. So art, yes, art moves me. And I always thought that I have a little bit of a different way of looking at art than other people, but maybe some people are like me, but they're few. And then I never ventured into judging art because I thought it's just me. I mean, what if I like Rachmaninoff and a lot of people don't? Okay,
Oh,
so
I
I
see.
can't.
Okay.
But then in the art world, meaning paintings, sculptures, whatever, I got validated by not, just, artists, but I was validated by curators in museums. And I will tell you a story, like when last year, for example.
Sorry, what do you mean by validated? They
I'll tell you.
appreciated your opinion.
No,
Okay.
I'll tell you the story and then you'll understand it.
Okay.
So, like, last year when I was asked to perform at the Riverfront Museum
In Peoria.
in Peoria,
Yeah.
Illinois, I said, look, we're getting out of an explosion in Beirut, and
Mhm.
this is not the time for me to go and like do a concert. People are going to say, what is he doing?
Oh, okay.
So I said, okay, look, you're a museum. How come we let's try to elevate Lebanese art. You expose for them, I'll give you a concert, and this way at least I'm there with a bunch of artists, not just me. Then we'll do the auction at the end of it for a good cause, blah blah blah. And this is what happened. But the thing that not many people know is that I was asked by the museum to pick the artists and send them, their names, their CVs, whatever,
Right.
and then get samples of their work, and then we have to vet these works to see if they are worthy of being in a museum, yes or no.
So they respect your opinion.
So
Right.
what I did was that I chose, and they approved. Then I chose again, and they approved. And then I went with samples, and they approved. And these are people who
Oh.
were judging paintings by Miro and Degas and
Wow.
Renoir, like the day before.
Right.
So basically, here I am, the collector. You want to call me a collector because I have tons of paintings, but yes, I mean, if my selection was good enough for a museum, then it means I know what I'm doing. Now, I don't have it go up to my head and claim that I'm, but at least
It's
in
subjective after all.
so at least in their opinion, it was valid. They even offered me a job. To be
Oh,
honest.
really?
I mean,
That would be a nice change.
unofficially, because I was talking to the CEO, who was a friend now of mine, and he said, I said, look, maybe when I retire, I'll do this because this is amazing, and
Yeah,
they're like,
definitely.
anytime. So the idea is that, I didn't have a formal training in art or didn't learn art, but with time and what you read and whatever, you know,
What did they think of the Lebanese artists?
they loved it. Again, Lebanese art is high up on the scale of like art in the world. Not all of it,
No, obviously.
obviously,
Yeah.
but a lot of it. And so
That's nice to know.
it's nice to know, and it's an avenue that a lot of artists didn't venture into taking because they either don't have the means or the connections or the know-how. And then again, like everything else that the Lebanese do, unfortunately, once an artist becomes a little bit famous, now everybody wants to become an artist. That doesn't work this way. So there are a bunch that are worthy, and they're very underappreciated at this point in time. And it is my duty in life, if you wish, if I have the connections, to kind of push them.
So you're opening the doors for them a little
Yeah,
bit.
we just opened New York for them right now as we're
Yeah.
recording this podcast.
Yeah.
An exhibition is happening in New
Yeah.
York with around 40 Lebanese artists,
That's a lot of artists.
116 paintings, I think. They're all being
Sculptures.
auctioned, and sculptures and
Yeah.
photographs and designers. And, hopefully, and it's all for a good cause. It's
Yeah.
help cancer patients and financial aid for students, because we don't do anything in art, at least I don't do anything in art that's personally beneficial for me. So that stems from what you mentioned earlier. All
Yeah.
my concerts are free or for
Right.
good cause.
Yeah, you never benefited from your musical talents, right?
And then, other than this, I have projects happening between now and the end of year in Barcelona and Paris
Oh.
and in Budapest now in October. So all of these things are happening not because of just me, but because of
No.
me and my friends, and we
You're
collaborate.
linking them,
I
right?
mean, it works.
Do they get in touch with you, or do you get in touch with the...
Sometimes they get in touch with me, sometimes I get in touch with them. I mean, you know, I set up something in Turkey also with some of my contacts for one of my friends.
Oh, you did that not so long ago in Turkey, right?
Yes. And I'm not saying I did Barcelona or Budapest. That's not. But one of my friends, Zaina, who was on your podcast.
She introduced me to you.
She's the one who actually pushed for this. But like we're always in contact, meaning she gets my opinion, I give my opinion. And when you collaborate with no ego, people get pushed very, very, very rapidly. And things can happen.
When you share, and you're generous with yourself, I'm just getting to a certain philosophy, it comes back to you so much more. I feel like it's, when you're selfless, I don't know, you just receive so much more from it.
I think so, but not a lot of people believe in that.
No, but it's usually the opposite of what happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think of it this way, but...
So do you go out and have a coffee with Zaina?
You mean a Diet Coke?
Okay, Diet Coke.
I don't drink coffee. And
Okay,
this
is Diet Coke.
Diet Pepsi and Starbucks.
Oh yeah, Diet Pepsi.
Because unfortunately, in a country like Lebanon, we don't have Diet Coke. But that's another story.
Yeah, we share the same liking of Coke Zero.
Yeah. Isn't it the best?
It is.
So look, yes, I can have an outing, let's say, either with Zaina or with X or Y. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's not, and they all become friends with me and my family and my wife and everything. I mean, we become one group of people, so it doesn't matter who goes out with who.
Yeah.
As defining who goes out under certain, boundaries, of course.
Right.
But I mean, if I feel like in the afternoon I need to discuss something with Zaina about a certain, let's say, exhibit. Yeah, I don't mind telling her, look, I'm passing by.
Oh, yeah,
or,
of course.
Meet me at this place or meet me at this exhibit. So we've done exhibits together. I do that with her. I do that with another good friend collector of mine who's really, really famous. Whenever we go out, there's cameras all over us. And I don't mind if they see me. They're going to write rumors, but who cares?
Yeah, I see the artists when they post about you, they're in like admiration of you and grateful and everything. So
I hope so. Again, I don't mind. I've been asked before by famous people, it's like, maybe we'll be seen, maybe it's not the right place to meet. I'm like, I have nothing to hide. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, people will talk whatever you do anyways.
Exactly. So, do what you need to do and be respectful.
And your conscience is clear. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
It's like a freedom for you. It's like a pleasure, especially when we go through all these hard times.
Yes. It is. It's very heartwarming, because you're propagating the ability of people to see something either nice or provocative. And I have a thing to say about provocation.
Oh, right, we were discussing this. Yes.
Something that would provoke your brain to think or your heart to feel. It's elevating human soul. I hate it when people go to an exhibition and they walk around, nice, take pictures, selfies, go back, and all they care about is the coffee afterwards. That is not why you go to an exhibition. I love seeing people sitting in front of a painting and just trying to think about it. That moment where you've triggered someone to think or feel is priceless.
Yeah, you affected their lives.
Yeah. Whether they understood it or not is irrelevant. Whether they like it or not is irrelevant. But it's that ability of them to stop in time and take a minute of their time, or 2 or 5 or 10, to kind of appreciate something that they're looking at. That was created out of the,
to stir some emotion.
Yeah, pure pure, I don't know what the word is. It's a creation of that artist. Because this didn't exist before them. It was an empty canvas. They created that thing that made you stop and think. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Now,
I'm always
provocation, that's provocation. Provocation where you draw inappropriate things, or cut the canvas in two, or burn something thinking that that's fun. No, that's attention-seeking behavior. That's a totally different, it's a psychological problem. It's not fun to watch.
That's my bone to pick with some contemporary art. I don't see it. What about those paintings that are just 3 stripes? What do you think of something like that?
Yes and no. Sometimes the stripes are worthy looking at. It makes you think. But 99% of the time, they're not. So not every three stripes are something to look at.
So it depends on the context.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes there's a reason why these three stripes are not symmetrical, for example. I mean, it makes you think about certain things. But what I mean by provocation is that,
Toilet.
writing like, I don't know, vulgar words on canvas just to say that this is art. This is bullshit. I'm sorry, it's not.
What about using your body in like vulgar ways to send a message?
Or drawing vulgar
Performance
things,
arts,
I don't think that's art. I think that's pornography or something's or erotic or whatever, but it's not art. You can't label everything unusual as being art. Look, this podcast, not typical, right? I mean, we're not on a TV, at 8 o'clock with a show that we have. This is unusual. Is this art?
It's not a show about nothing.
That's art. That is the most amazing. That's the most amazing idea ever, which turned out to be very lucrative for him. But the
show about
idea
everything.
is art. You can't label art to anything that's unusual. Let's put it that way. Okay, there are some things in art that are unusual that are artistic.
Yeah, definitely.
But not everything unusual becomes art. Not because you're an artist, you're supposed to wear 7,000 earrings and 17 belly buttons. I mean, when people look at me, they don't know I play the piano. Okay, but if I sit on the piano and I play and I make you cry, I don't need to be provocative to do that.
Right.
I'm not saying that if somebody else does it, it's wrong. But when someone, especially those that do it to their extreme, they lack talent to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's hiding the fact that they lack talent. They go with provocative stuff and then label it as art, where in fact it's not. That's where I have a problem with it.
There's two different instances. So there's one, this one touched me actually. This is a bit performance art. I don't remember the name of the artist, but she was a woman who was sitting and then strangers would just come and sit in front of her for like 5 minutes. You remember that?
I remember that she was wearing red, and then
her ex-boyfriend
came and they started crying without even talking a word.
Yeah, because
that was one of the most amazing things ever. But let me tell you, that's not provocative.
No, but this is something that was memorable.
And that is an amazing art because it's stirring feelings. If I don't know you and I stare at you for 5 minutes, we're gonna connect somehow.
Yeah, but you just felt like they just want to jump on each other, and
it was an amazing
wasn't
thing.
it? It was wonderful.
Yeah, but let's say she was naked, doing it just because she was naked. Come and stare at my body. That's not art. That's something else.
Right.
And I have no problem with it being something else. I might enjoy it. I think I may have mentioned this to you outside of a podcast, but I'm going to mention it here again because it's really something. One of the best performances on stage that I've ever seen is those two dancers on a rope.
Yeah.
Like not on a rope, on a veil thing, like the curtain thing.
Yeah.
At the Lido in Paris. So all shows were, erotic, a little bit naked, blah, blah, except this. And they were dancing, a guy and a lady, with the music of Pavarotti in the background.
Beautiful.
You can't but cry from the first minute till the end
Were
of
they
this 5
clothed?
minutes. Yes.
Okay.
So that to me is art.
Yeah. But it's sad that they had to do it in that kind of context.
Not necessarily.
Was it appreciated?
Look, let me tell you.
You appreciated it.
I appreciate the whole
of,
thing from A to Z.
Okay.
Even the shows. I mean, you go there with a mindset that okay, this is like nice looking ladies with like topless, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
But that was a higher level.
It was a surprise. Was it a surprise for you?
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was one of those acts that you would take and take to Vegas and watch like for an hour.
Wow.
So.
And we're even talking about it now.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to skip provocation and you have to just do what you do and do it at your best. If you look at America Got Talent, right? We all watch them.
Yeah, the Mayas, especially lately.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those, not so good looking people that walk on stage with like this, not so fancy clothing.
Flashy clothing.
And then they start singing and like everybody's in shock.
Yeah.
Because they're doing what they do best. If they were provoking with their, appearance, let's say,
half naked or something. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't mind it if they have the talent, but for them not to have the talent, but then you like the way they dress, that's not art.
Yeah.
That's something else.
Yeah. Got it.
For me, it's very clear, but I don't expect people to
There's
understand.
one incident.
Mhm.
We talked about this before also. The Banksy balloon
Yes.
painting. What's it called exactly?
Yes.
Is it called the balloon? What is it called? It's
I
not
for-
called the balloon.
No, it has a different name. I
Right.
forgot the name, but yes, like people
That stunt.
bought it for like $1 million, I don't know, millions of dollars, and then they
And
ripped
it's
it.
shredded halfway
Yeah,
through.
is that okay?
That's
the only
shocking.
reason that was done is so we can talk about it.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, it's a marketing thing.
Yeah, of course.
I don't see that as art. I'm sorry. I mean, with all my respect to Banksy and his art, although I may have told you this before, I loved that painting.
You did, yeah.
When I was, younger, I had seen it. I didn't know who Banksy was at the time.
Right.
It attracted me. It's just the whole idea of this little,
Girl,
child
yeah.
with a balloon and I mean, it made sense. It provoked. I mean, maybe it's because I like kids also, but it's just provoked something. But then, what's the point of shredding it? Just marketing. I don't. That's not art. Again,
And
people may
ironically-
disagree with me, and I respect that.
Yeah,
but
and it's worth
not.
a lot more. It's worth like three
I mean,
times
look,
more
if I
now.
go up on stage and you're coming here to hear me play, and I play like the first piece, second piece, and then I come with a hammer, hit the piano, does that make it art? I mean, no.
Oh, while you're playing, yeah.
You know,
It
I
would
once was
destroy.
playing. I once was playing at the presidential palace in Lebanon. Okay, it was at the time where President Amin Gemayel was president. So anyway,
Oh, that's a long time ago.
yeah.
You were
so
young.
I was young, and I was playing, and it was at when they invite, because every year they invite the ambassadors of the world. Obviously,
They
they don't
used
do
to.
that anymore
Yeah.
because nobody thinks that we exist as a country. But the idea is that they used to do that. So I was playing for them, and during the piece, one of the chords of the piano broke,
Oh,
and I continued normally. And I
did
skipped
anybody
that note.
notice?
It's heard. I have it on tape, so you can hear it.
Okay.
Nobody noticed because I would skip that note and compensate for it with something else, and it was hard, but I
Yeah, I
did
was
it.
gonna ask. Yeah.
My point is, I didn't go and break the chord to make it provocative, and I never talked about it
Sensation,
until now. I mean, except with my family. So, like, you don't do provocation just to say that you're good. You
Yeah.
understand? I mean,
With social media now, it's so easy to provoke also. So
Yeah.
it's like they're 10 minutes of fame or something.
sure. And I think that not many people can claim that they are artists as well. This is the same thing with some people who sing. I mean, look in Lebanon. I mean, you see like hundreds of singers, where in fact there's only like 3 or 4, and
Yeah,
the
I
rest
guess so.
they're like they try.
Well, also our country is so small. I mean, like in the
Yeah.
States, there's so many people, so you
Yeah,
won't
but
know
in the
all
States
bad
or in
songs.
other places, competition, and the
eliminates.
economy drives you, and there's like a system. People, I
Okay.
mean, I don't mind if somebody has bad voice if everybody agrees that they like them. Fine, but that's not going to happen. Whereas
in the
here,
States, yeah.
in the States or in the West or in other countries in the world,
Mm.
but like here, do you think that people actually hear what they're hearing? Listen to what they're hearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they have the music in the background, but all they care about is the actual beat that drives.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that
dancing.
actually shuts off their brain from thinking. Because if they thought for 2 seconds, they would not hear that music.
So it's like a drug for them, sort of
It
thing?
is a drug. I mean, why is it that in most places that you go to, think about this, most places that you go out to where there's music, they put it on loud, so that they kind of shut down your brain. I mean, you stop hearing it after a while.
So what do you think of all the techno now? Like all the kids, not the kids, the younger generation, they go to raves and like all night and it's like boo, 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 like this, you know?
Look, I don't mind rhythm. Like, I would enjoy a 15-minute performance on drums without music.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes that's
yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah.
Beats and drums and rhythm and, that's fine. But for them to be on something that just kills your ability to think or prevents you from talking to the person next to you, what is the point of going out? I mean, you have to think about that. If I go out with you to a place where the music is louder than what we can talk about, I'd rather not go out, stay in the car and talk with you. Or have some...
By moonlight. Yeah,
No,
look
you
at
know,
the stars.
Look, I don't mind if you want to dance. Fine, we go out, we dance. We dance to this music for like whatever our bodies can,
Take.
handle
Yeah.
in terms of dancing. But then after that, it's done. For you to be there for hours on end with this and like
And we're just like
usually
shouting at each
with
other.
your
It's kind of-
alcohol and among
Yeah.
other things that kind of drown your brain, I think that's running away from reality.
Yeah, well, that's the point I'm getting at, because you're saying how people, like, when they listen to the music, they're
People-
numbed or whatever.
People
I
run
mean,
away from reality all the time. I don't understand why.
do you think they're doing it more than before?
Of course they do. Of course they do, because they just don't know. Not they don't know. They just refuse to like sit and talk and analyze and think. Sometimes you don't want to think. I get that.
Yeah, you want to change, relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think they overdo it.
Mm.
And overdoing something is not really healthy.
I think social media is like pushing everybody to like, yeah, we have to take advantage of life and we have to have this adventure and that adventure and all these life experiences and stuff like that. So I think everybody's in a rush like for getting all the life experiences they can before they can't anymore.
But there are plenty more life
Yeah,
experiences
you don't
can
have to
get
be loud
outside
to
the
do it.
system.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and again, I don't want people who are listening to think that I'm actually criticizing them a lot, but I am criticizing a little bit, yes. And I do think that there's nothing wrong with doing certain things for a limited amount of time, but there are plenty more, much fruitful things that you could do in your life rather than spend them shutting down your brain that way. It's not
Balance.
the right way. You
It's
can
a
shut
question
down
of
your brain
balance.
in a different way,
Yeah, okay.
you know?
Yeah. So if anybody would like to see what you're up to, your new events or anything like that, they go into your Instagram account?
My Instagram account was initially started as, as giving people something else to think about other than politics and recession and all that crap.
Yeah.
So, and something other than medicine. So on my Instagram, I just put a nice piece of artwork and like talk about it a little bit,
Yeah.
or talk about the artist, or just have people admire it. I mean, it gives you this 2 seconds or 3 seconds or 1 minute of like, escape. People like that.
Yeah.
I didn't do it neither to promote me or my artists or my own collection. Because
No.
sometimes I put things from my own collection, sometimes I
Oh,
don't.
you do?
Of
I didn't
course.
know that. Okay.
Some of them are from my own.
But I mean, because you have all these events that we can participate in,
I
you know,
don't-
it's not. I'm not saying it's because you're marketing
Look.
yourself, but if we want to know what you're up to and
You
maybe
call me and ask me.
should we give your number to all the audience?
I don't mind. Look, it's not like I do this as a job, right?
No, yeah.
What I do is that I try to set something up for, let's say, an artist or 2 or 10 or what have you. They're supposed to talk about it, not me.
Yeah.
It's for them.
It's just to spread the beauty.
Spread the beauty. I
Yeah.
usually like put it on my Instagram like a few weeks before or a day before, or like something like
Yeah.
that. But I don't tell people what I'm up to because nobody. I mean, it's something I do for me.
Can we just agree that to help others, if you want to help others, go into Dr. Tony Karam's account every once in a while to see what's going on,
Sure.
and maybe can we agree on
Of
that?
course, they can.
Okay.
They can contact. They message me. I mean, my WhatsApp is open. I mean, I'm
Okay.
a very reachable person. Although
Yeah.
I'm a doctor, I'm very reachable.
Mhm.
People talk to me on Insta and what have you. If I can help, I do. If not, I don't. Sometimes I just go and visit them, get to know them, have a good time. And I benefit from that, they benefit from that, meaning just knowing someone is a great benefit for me. Knowing someone who's in touch with their own feelings is something that's unusual and that makes
Yeah,
me
true.
happy.
You're right.
So, and sometimes they call me just to have my opinion on like their works, and I just go and help them out by like either directing them that this is good, this is not, this is
Mhm.
what people are looking at, blah, blah, blah. What's wrong with
Bit of
this? It's just being
guidance.
helpful to people from a friendship basis. I mean, there's no monetary nothing. I don't care.
Well, I can relate because, like, with this podcast, I'm meeting just wonderful people.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, and such as you. I mean,
No, I mean,
yeah, and it's just so enriching. Like you say, you're more enriched from it.
I think that people forgot what humanity is all about. I think we're all ingrained in this way of thinking, be it in this society or even in the US or whatever. We're ingrained in doing certain things certain ways. And humanity is not like that. Biology is not like that.
Okay.
Everything is not like that. So, we as human beings have, turned things around to fit what we think is our needs. But that causes a lot of stress because sometimes your need is totally different and people have missed it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
I know what you mean. I mean, it's just like be natural, be simple,
Yeah.
be kind. It's not so difficult.
I'll give
If
you
you think about it.
I'll give you a little example.
Okay.
One time I was doing this interview with someone and I mentioned something, and it's good that we have this podcast so I can mention it again.
Mm.
And I said that, look, everybody is my friend in the art world. I know the galleries, I know their owners, I know everybody.
Mhm.
But I'm against the way, not like totally against, but like I don't like sometimes how the business of running art work, running the artwork business
Right.
is done, because you go to a gallery, you see a nice painting, let's say, and they tell you, okay, this is nice, who's the painter? They
Mhm.
tell you how much is it, and you can negotiate a price.
Right.
If you try to tell them I want to meet that person, it's the most difficult thing in the world.
Mm.
It's
Don't they
because-
usually come to promote their paintings?
I'm talking. Sometimes they do, but
Mm.
sometimes they don't.
Okay.
Sometimes some of them live like too far away, and you don't know them, or you've missed the opening, or what have.
Mm.
A lot of people try not to have you meet the artist because they want to keep the artist for themselves, because
Yeah.
you can get a good deal.
But after you get in touch
But
with
when I
them.
ask them to, it has nothing to do with bypassing the gallery to try to get the work from them. It's because I really cannot buy something from an artist if he's alive and not know what they were thinking or not know their way of life. Or I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Now, one person, a gallery owner, misunderstood this, because actually when I was in her gallery, she was one of the very few people who actually took me with her to introduce me to the artist.
Mm.
But that's a rare occurrence. I wasn't
Yeah.
mentioning her. I was mentioning, the whole process. I'm not against galleries. Gallery owners are my friends, and I still buy from them even though I know the artist.
Oh, why would
But
you
I
do
don't
that?
do, because they're my friends too, and they have
Okay.
to work and they have to live.
Okay.
And sometimes that work of art is better than what the artist has in their home.
Mm.
It doesn't
Okay.
matter. All I'm saying is that it's one community. The artist can't live without the gallery. The gallery can't live without the artist. Let's all be happy and know each other. There's nothing wrong.
Give and take.
Yeah. If
Not be
I'm somebody
greedy.
who's secluded, nobody can get to me, and unless I go on stage and play on piano and make this aura around me that is unreachable, how would people know what I'm thinking? How would people know what it took to study that piece of Chopin that I'm playing for you now, while I had 7,000 deliveries to take care of, or 7,000 surgeries?
Right.
It's nice to know that background so that you appreciate the music more.
Sharing is caring.
Sort of. Yes.
Yeah.
So again, there's nothing against galleries because they're my friends, as I said. But there's also, I have a problem with a gallery that refuses to get you introduced to the artist.
Mm.
For example, nowadays it's different because the whole thing has changed with social media, whatever. Everybody now is becoming more accessible.
Right.
But go back 20 years, yes, it was an impossible thing.
Oh, I see. Okay. So that's one positive point for social media.
There are a lot
There
of
are a
positive
lot.
points.
There are a lot. You
Of
just
course
have to
there
know
are a
how to
lot.
be responsible.
Look, I'm
with
not
it.
against technology. I'm
No,
with
no.
technology. I'm with, I always, people would tell me, go up on the stairs. I'm like, no, there's an elevator. We created it for a reason.
But I never heard that one.
Of course.
I never heard
Imagine
that.
us swimming all the way to Canada. There's a plane, there's a boat, use them.
Well, there's a difference between swimming to Canada and climbing 2 flights of stairs.
Well, yeah, but
It's good for
technology
your
is here
health.
to
You're a doctor.
maybe, but if you
Okay.
have a heart problem, no, you might die on
Yeah,
stairs.
okay.
So, see, you can't argue with it. The idea is that technology is not bad. It becomes bad if you're spending 99% of your time on stupid social media,
Yes,
just
I
looking
agree.
at what people are doing and
Agreed.
being nosy, and forgetting about the other stuff in life.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google is not a university. My patients come to me, well, I read that you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
supposed to read anything, because even if you did, and if it was medical, you wouldn't understand
You
it.
see your symptoms everywhere.
Yeah,
when you
you're not
look and you
supposed to
research.
read medical stuff. You go to the doctor, he explains it to you. If you don't trust him, you go to somebody else.
Mm.
Have you ever seen anyone get a degree from Google? I respect Google a lot. I
Yeah.
think they're a beautiful thing. And if my daughter wants to go work there, I would tell her go work there. But that doesn't mean that you can rely on medical information from
Well,
Google.
Yeah. Well, you pay for this
I mean,
to study
let
for
me
a
read
reason.
about architecture and then go build a building. Would you buy an apartment? I mean,
I wouldn't let you do surgery on my body if you did.
but some of my patients take medications because Google told them this is what you should take. I mean,
That's
come
another
on.
problem because it's accessible also.
Again, we've lost touch with proper way of thinking and humanity and all that stuff. We have to keep our feet on the ground and get in touch with ourselves and take a deep breath and think properly. That's all you need to do. It's not that difficult.
So you are very solid and reasonable.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
You learn how
that's
to.
how I am. I mean, it's not like I make an effort to be this way. I am this way. And I think that everybody should be this way. And this is where sometimes disappointments come and you get angry. Because I'm like, you should be like this.
Yeah,
You
not
think
everybody
this
is like
way.
that. When we accept
If I don't
them,
care about you, I don't get angry. But if I
Yeah.
care about you a lot, it irritates me because I want you to be, solid in how you think.
that's so ideal. But if we work at it little by little,
Yeah.
we can do it with the people around us,
Yeah.
right?
The hardest thing is when you get into an argument with your son or with your daughter, because they're trying to explore things, and sometimes you want to put them on the right track, and then they think that you're doing this because you think you're right and they're
Yeah.
not. It has nothing to do with that. It's just a way of thinking. I just had not an argument, but a discussion with my daughter a week ago on the phone, and she was saying something. I said something, and I said, look, wait, let's not talk now as if we're you're 8 and I'm your dad. You're now 18, so let's talk as friends. I'm not your dad, I'm just a friend. Let me explain to you my point of view, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that this should happen this way. And she goes, well, I've never thought about it that way. I'm like, okay, good. So I'm not saying you should do as I told you to do. You can do whatever you want. But I think that you should think this way. And at the end of it, she appreciated the fact that, yeah, I shouldn't think of him as my dad trying to impose.
Because you respected her as an 18-year-old also.
Of course. I always did, even when she was
Yeah.
14.
But they don't realize it
But
at
at
14.
14,
Yeah.
you have this fatherly figure
Yeah.
who.
And there's certain decisions they just can't make at 14 anyway.
Of course. So it's kind of interesting that you have to go through explaining these things with your children, but that kind of made me realize that I have to do this with other people as well.
Yeah, it's true.
Because-
Communication is
yeah.
key.
And
Yeah.
look, not everybody knows how I think, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes people talk to you, they just don't know what's the background and what I'm. So you have to explain to them. So you either make the decision
True.
that it's not worth explaining, so don't even say anything.
You just
Or-
have to say your needs. That's what I
Yeah.
learned in communication. You have
Yes.
to just express your needs because people can't just guess everything.
Yes. Or if you don't have too many needs, because sometimes you don't.
Well, no, like what you expect from somebody.
Yes, and you can just say, look, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, and take that 5 minutes to explain the rationale behind what you said. And if you feel that there's interaction from the other end, you continue another 5, 10 minutes.
And if there isn't,
If there isn't, you just give up and you say, okay, here's the limit of where I can go with these conversations, and you kind of gracefully exit out of the room.
I'm tired. It's
No,
my
no,
nap
not-
time.
not tired, but
No, I'm just kidding.
you
but I-
don't. You think of something else.
Oh, my phone is ringing in the other room.
So that's what I do.
It's so nice to have you here.
Well, it's always nice to
It
talk to
is
you
nice.
because it's nice when you talk to someone who's actually, trying to comprehend or comprehending or going with you along those lines of thinking. These conversations you can't have with a lot of people,
You can't.
unfortunately.
I hope we can stimulate this a little bit.
I hope so. I wish
It'll be
people would talk
wonderful.
like that all the time. This is what people should talk about when they go out at
Yeah.
night instead of this loud music nonsense.
I hope maybe if one person changed, we would have done something good. Well, I don't like to say change. If you can enrich one person to think
You know
differently.
what's the proper way of saying it? If you can wake them up, because it's all in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cannot not think this way.
Well, the name of the podcast is Extraordinary People. But my message is that everybody has it in them if you just bring it out and develop it on your own.
Maybe at certain degrees,
Well,
but,
yeah,
but,
of
but
course.
we all have it.
Yeah. in our own
everybody,
unique ways.
if you go back to
Yeah.
the basics and you think in terms of basics, I mean, we're all the same. It's just that don't get, this clutter that we live within, like it's all around us. It can clutter your brain, and then the brain shuts down, and then you become sort of robotic, and it's like, it's ridiculous.
We go with the trend a little bit.
And look,
Yeah.
I'm somebody when we travel, like I love going to like the nicest restaurants and the beautiful hotels because I want to experience it in my life, okay? But one of the best meals I've had is when I traveled with my wife and her brother to New York City, and we had those hot dogs from the
food trucks.
The food trucks.
Yeah.
And on the street, eating it with ketchup and mustard dripping.
Yeah, and you remember it. That's what makes it so nice.
And if I go to New York again,
Yeah.
I'll go there first before I go to Nobu or what have you. And the enjoyment of that and the enjoyment of being in a fancy five-star restaurant place is the same.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I told my wife about something else, and I'm linking them because that's how my brain works. I told her once we were watching TV in Beirut before the explosion in Ashrafiyya, because after that the house went away. I'm saying, how much are we enjoying this now? She said a lot. I said, how's it different than when we were walking on Fifth Avenue in New York? I mean, the feeling is the same.
Yeah.
Isn't that the most beautiful thing, is that when you achieve that same amount of happiness, be it here, there, or the other place?
Like moments?
Not necessarily moments, but like the feeling of being content, not happy. Content.
Yeah, I know. It's
There's a
very
big
different. I
See?
aim for serenity or peace of
You
mind.
should always aim for being content.
Yes, a smile instead of happy.
Yeah. If you're content on the inside, you can be content here, there, the other place.
Because it's long term.
It's long term.
Happiness is just in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So that's the most important thing.
I am definitely smiling on the inside.
Me too.
And next time I'm going to get some Coke Zero. I'm going to find it. I'm going to look everywhere
Well,
for our next talk.
you should see my suitcase when I travel. Well, isn't it unfortunate that something as basic as Coke Zero is not available in a country? I don't want to name
It's
where.
not even Coke Zero.
I mean,
it's the
what?
whole Coke brand.
You're going to tell me that it's impossible, not to mention that sometimes we don't have
Basic,
Tylenol.
yeah.
I mean, what is this?
I don't know.
It doesn't take a politician to do that. It doesn't take...
Well, it's the whole system that's broken,
It's a whole system that needs to be thrown down the drain and start from zero. And
I don't know
we
how
have
it's
the
going to
people
work.
who can do that.
We do.
We do. I mean, if you get 5 or 6 people who know what they're doing, put them in the right places, things will change.
Yeah,
Now
you just need the
there's
will.
going to be those people who say, no, it's all from the outside, blah, 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 big nations. Look, we're not that important. I mean, those people who think that, the Americans are running the show and the Iranians are...
They don't really care that much.
When I was in America, they didn't even know where Lebanon is.
Yeah.
Or
they have the picture of us
this
wearing
ego that
the
we have, that we're like the
chador.
most important people in the world. We're not.
Yeah.
Even with whatever theoretical gas reserves we have, we're nothing.
Yeah.
Compared to what they have, we're nothing.
Oh, jeez.
So let's just not build on this ego anymore.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way.
We're not important.
No.
We can be important by imposing ourselves on them and making them realize that we know that we're important.
Well, our neighbors to the south,
Yeah.
we have so many more natural resources than they do, and they're like one of the top countries economic.
Because they
strength.
believe that they're important.
Yeah, and they work at this.
And they work at it.
Yeah.
We believe that we're important, but we don't work at it.
We don't work at it.
We fakely sometimes think that we're the best, but we're not.
No.
I'm sorry. I am Lebanese more than anybody.
Yeah.
I can live in the States right now if I choose to. I don't even have to think. I just go to the airport, take the plane, and I'll start working.
Oh, you have by the way, you are
Yes.
a U.S. citizen now.
Of course. So
we didn't go all the
and
way.
I choose to be here, and my kids are there, but I
Yeah.
choose to be here. That says that I love this country, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I believe in the people here, and I believe in what they have. But let's remove our ego at the door and start thinking, how can we do things to better this place?
Good will bring out good.
Yes.
I don't like this nagging all the time. And even if people are right, things are wrong in the country.
Correct.
But if you keep on nagging and just nothing's good going to come out because evil feeds from negativity.
Yeah.
But I really believe that good can prevail. Well, I'm not being idealistic or talking,
No,
but
no, you're
it's
being...
this is the way that things will get better, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can think about it. We're going to open the
Yeah,
front
we're in like
but
a whole
like,
different world right now.
Look, if you think about it religiously speaking, and I'm talking across all the religions, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
When things start going to the negative and to the bad and to the ugly and all that stuff, okay, whatever you think of as the devil, okay, it'll flourish.
Yeah.
And then we become their background,
Yeah.
their playground.
Yeah, they're playing grounds.
And
Mephistopheles.
but eventually the devil wears out, because that's always happens.
Mm.
But that can take years, but eventually it happens. You can give up and say, okay, I'll just wait until they're worn out and then what? Or you can always say, no, my principles are like that. You want to do the playground thing. You want to act against me. I still believe this is what is right and I'm going to do what is right. You keep fighting them, they'll give up faster.
Yeah.
Now, this is religious.
Right.
If you don't believe in religion, we talk about nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nature. In nature, positivity brings positivity, negativity brings negativity. This is the whole premise of those books that were written about think positive and good things will come to you.
Mm-hmm.
The nature or the universe will respond, blah, blah,
the
blah,
energy,
blah, blah.
right.
If you believe that, I don't mind what you believe in. It's the same thing. We're saying the same thing. Think positive, not stupidly.
Yes.
Think positive and build on it and be...
Not toxic positivity.
Yeah, and be very resilient in your, premises, and then nothing will touch you.
Yeah.
You might get harmed. You might be fought a lot. Eventually you'll win.
Yeah, I believe that.
So, religiously or non-religiously, it's the same. So do it.
Yeah.
Instead of giving up and, allowing yourself to be used in the playground of whatever negativity.
Well, you're a wonderful example for that. For besides the medical part,
I was fought all the time. All the time.
Really?
When
And
I
the
was a
art
kid,
world also?
when I was a kid growing up, I mean, people didn't hurt me, but they were like either envious, or like, why is he getting the grades, or why is he the youngest one, why is everybody liking him, why is he in the news, blah, 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 blah. And nothing changed in my mind. I mean, I kept being the nice person that I am. Not the stupid person, but the nice person.
Yeah, but that's...
But like, don't interfere with those people who are negative, and talk just to the ones who are positive, and just do your thing.
That's not easy when
and
you're
then
a child.
eventually, when you meet these people who were with you in school many, many years later, they would tell you how they felt at the time. They were like, yes, we were jealous of you, but we couldn't attack you.
Because you were like the
So
shoo
I
shoo.
won. So I won.
Yeah.
Same thing
because you
in
were
college.
the favorite at school also.
Same thing in college. In college,
Yeah.
it's totally different because now
Yeah.
you're like mature, you're with among peers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, with my, visa status and all that stuff and everything, and the no money, I mean, my dad was a manager of a bank, but he didn't steal from the bank.
Yeah.
So basically he
You
was...
struggled there.
I mean,
you struggled in the States.
my tuition was what he would make in a year.
Yeah.
So I had to be respectful of not wasting money and all that. I mean, sometimes I would live for a week with $1 in the bank. I mean, until the next transfer comes in. And I knew that transfer was coming from a loan, and I'm taking it away from my sister. But then I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to make it up to them. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
all these
you
thoughts.
overcame. Yeah.
And then, you're on top of your game. You're like the best of what you're doing. You're on the president's list. You have the GPAs, blah, blah, blah. And then just because you're not a U.S. citizen in the USA, you have to fight 10,000 times more. Or you go to your interviews where the first thing that somebody tells you on an interview, where you've paid all your money to get that plane ticket and go, and not wear a coat in Cleveland, for example, when one of my interviews was in Case Western, I didn't have a coat. The temperature outside was like -10 or -20, something like that. And you go in, and the first thing's like, hi, just so you know, we're not going to accept you here, but we just needed to meet you. Why? Because I have a CV. that's playground of the devil because they are wearing you out. But you don't give up. You say, okay, look, I'm playing by the rules. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm going to keep fighting it. I'm going to study a little bit of law to find the loophole, and I found it.
You did.
So there you go. Then you have this perfect life with your marriage and whatever, with your kids. The most beautiful thing that ever happened to you is to have a child. And then, here we are with problems that came about again. And you're like, okay, you want to fight me here, Mr. Devil or Mr. Negativity, whatever? Fine. I'll continue to be who I am, and I continue to be nice. I never hurt anyone.
Exactly, yeah.
And I tried to, at least, not to hurt anyone. But I did put some, rules that had to be followed, and it turned out to their benefit, not to mine, to their benefit, even the people who were trying to hurt me at the time. So, fine. All your life is a little bit of a struggle. But it's not like when the struggle comes about, it's like, oh my God, why me again? It's a given that's going to be me.
Well, these are all, I don't like to say like it's lessons in life, but I mean, this is what life is about, and you have to learn from them.
Yes. You have to learn from them. Sometimes you do get tired. Sometimes
You
you
do.
do have this weakness of like,
course.
again, why am I going to have to do that? What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
But then again, you look at your achievements and you're like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be achieving that much. Something has to give. But I'm not going to give up. I'm going to let them win.
Yeah.
So I don't give up. In the middle of this huge crisis that we're having, I had the most successes in art and with my people that I tried to help and whatever. And I'm so happy.
It's amazing what you're doing.
And
it
I'm
really
so
is,
happy that I brought a smile to people's, faces and to their hearts and whatever.
Yeah.
And this is in the middle of like the worst crisis
It
ever.
is.
I could have been at home. I don't have to do any of this.
Same with me.
Yeah.
In the middle of a crisis, I'm trying to build a name, like in the podcast world
So
and stuff.
I'm not saying this to show off or any. I really don't need anyone's, applause. All I'm saying is that I wish more people would do that. Imagine if not one, but like 2 or 4 or 5 or 20 are doing this the right way.
We have so much potential.
And there are some. I have friends in the art world who are doing marvels.
It's not just the art world. It could be in the science world, or it could be in anywhere.
Yeah. The nurses who had surgery done on them a few days before the explosion, and when the explosion happened, they left their beds and went to the hospital to help. Those are people who are heroes.
They are heroes.
People should be like that in everything.
Yeah.
I hate it when you talk to someone who works at a bank now and tries to defend their, stealing our money. Don't defend it. You're one of the people whose money was stolen as well.
Yeah.
Apologize and move on and tell me that what are you going to do to fix it? I have yet to see a CEO of a bank apologize to the people who gave them their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying, again, I'm saying this with a heavy heart because we are a family that helped in establishing one of the biggest banks in Lebanon. And I say it with a heavy heart.
Yeah.
If I'm sure
because your dad was.
If my dad was in this bank still, he would have gone on TV and apologized to the people of the mistakes that they did.
And the people would have respected him for that.
Why couldn't they do it? What is wrong with admitting that you made a mistake? People would respect you more.
Yeah.
Listen, you gave me your mug and I broke it. I can't sit there pretending that you should accept it and without me even apologizing. I would apologize. I'll try to look. I know people who can fix it. If not, I'll buy you another mug in 10 years. Just give me the time.
Yeah.
People would understand.
Yeah.
What is this? Ego? I think it's stupidity. And I think that
it's greed. I don't know.
Here's my take on it. We're the stupid ones for not demanding an apology.
I agree with that.
So, there you go.
Just apology? A bit of retribution and justice?
I haven't visited my bank since like the beginning of the crisis. And people ask me why or why not. I mean, I don't care what's in the bank account, if it's gone, I don't care. Because when I set foot in that bank again, the first thing I'm going to demand is an apology.